Hi guys, welcome to No Nonsense Music Tips with me, Tony. So, you've come here because you feel your mix sucks. Well, let me tell you, you're not alone with that. I've been doing this for about 25 years, and let me tell you, I've had some horrible mixes in my time. And still, I'm not fully up to scratch with them. I'm still learning stuff myself a lot. And so, I just want to offer my advice and stuff that I've learned throughout my time in mixing. There's a real reason why the best mix engineers are in the Middle Ages is because they've trained their ears to hear differences. Hearing subtle differences is what mixing is all about. There's a saying that all the mix engineers say, which is that a static mix is 90%, 80 to 90% of your job. Once you've got a static mix down, the other 10 to 20% is the things like the EQing, the masking, the compression and stuff like that. The stuff that you're fixing in the mix more than actually adding to it. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about that stuff. I'm going to give you some examples of what you can do to help yourself to hear mixes or hear changes in the mix and how to train your ears. And this is the biggest thing, is the reason your mix probably sucks to you is because you're either overthinking it or you're over processing it. Now, there's been many a times where I've done a static mix, and it's something I do for every song that I do, every mix that I do. I'll always set out a static mix, and if you don't know what a static mix is, you're balancing your faders basically. So you're setting your kick drum to say like 6 dB or minus 6 dB, between minus 12 and minus 6 dB. And then you're going to balance the rest of your instruments around that. So you'll balance your snare, your hats, your bass, and then your instruments and your vocal around that 6 dB. And then you'll get a nice blend, a nice static mix of your mix then. And once you've done that, you're pretty much 80 to 90% of the way finished. Then what I used to do is I used to feel like I needed to put on stuff. So I would feel like, oh, well, there's a bass preset there in this compressor or this EQ here, so I must have to put that on it. And I would do a mix like that and just putting stuff on it, presets on it, not knowing what I was really doing with it. And then when we'd go back and listen to the mix, it was horrible. And we'd go back and listen to the static mix that I did. And my partner, who does the music with me, used to say, but it sounded better before you did the mix. Can we not just keep the mix that you did before? Because it sounded better before you actually went and mixed it. And so that's often what happened. We would end up just taking the static mix because it sounded better. Now, that would be my suggestion as well to you guys that are really struggling. If you're new to mixing or you're new to producing, you're not going to have trained your ears. It's like going into a gym and trying to lift heavy weights. Until you train yourself, you're not going to be able to. And it's the same with your ears. You're going to have to train your ears. And this is a big thing for new engineers, new mix engineers, new producers. You have to train your ears. And I didn't get that until many, many years into it. I've probably only been doing my ear training for the last probably 6-7 years, something like that, and it started to make more sense to me. I'm now hearing compression. The first time I heard a compressor on a mix, I absolutely was so happy because I took the time to learn it, and now I can actually pinpoint some frequencies in a track and know where they're going wrong. Whereas before, I would just put presets on, or I would just duck things or cut things or increase things, not knowing what it was actually doing. So now my mixes are becoming much better because of that, because I now know what I'm doing. And so, like I said, my advice to any new producer is do a static mix. If you can't hear changes that you're making, or you can't hear any errors, if you can't hear there's something wrong at 1K or there's something wrong at 2K or 250 hertz, then don't touch it. That's my biggest advice for you. Don't touch it while you're training your ears. You need to be training your ears, and that's the biggest thing. So there's this meme here. As a new producer or a new mix engineer to see something like this, I need help with my mix, use your ears, bro. Now, for a new mix engineer or a new producer, someone that's just getting into it, it's almost like saying to a weightlifter that's just joined the gym that can't lift the weight, use your legs, bro. Like, if your legs are not up to the job, then you're not going to lift the weight. And so the same can be said with this. If you haven't trained your ears to listen to changes or subtle changes, then there's no point in using your ears. So it's almost like the advice is good advice, but when that advice becomes meaningful to you and that you understand it, the advice is no longer valid because you already know to use your ears. So it's just a bit of a weird meme, and that's what brought me to do this video, is just that, because I was discussing it with a friend and I was saying it's good advice, it's exactly what you should be doing, using your ears, but to a new producer it's useless advice. But to a seasoned producer or seasoned mix engineer, it's also useless advice because they've already figured that out and they've already then trained their ears and do use their ears, and so it's not really that good. It's not good advice. There's no point in learning how to compress, EQ, mask, do all that type of stuff if your ears are not up to it. If you can't hear a change of 3 dB cut in any part of the frequency, then don't do anything at all. Is my advice. You'll just end up ruining the mix. If you can't hear a 3 dB cut, then don't touch it, and that would be the main advice for me. So yeah, this is what brought me here. I need help with my mixing. Use your ears, bro. Good advice, but actually useless advice, because the people that don't understand it, it's frustrating, and the people that do understand it no longer need that advice. That, like I said, is really, really annoying for new producers because they don't understand it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some websites with you. I can say to you guys, if you're spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on plugins thinking it's going to help you with your mix, stop spending money on plugins that might not do the job for you. If you're not hearing the changes they're making, then your first step is to train your ears so you can hear them. If you're not hearing mistakes in the music or flaws in the music, then leave it, because the chances are if you're not hearing them, then many listeners are not hearing it neither. So that's a massive piece of advice for you guys. If you're not hearing it, there's probably a good chance that the people that are listening to the music are not hearing that what you think you might have to fix. And so I'm going to show you these sites and about ear training and what the importance of a static mix and a YouTube channel that you can look at to help you with that. But my advice for you guys is really to start learning to train your ears. Put the time and the effort into training your ears as you're doing to production, as you're doing to buying VSTs. You could do a really good mix with just stock plugins from your DAW. You don't need all the fancy plugins. They are good, and some of the stuff they do is good, but you have to understand why you're using them before you actually start using them. So don't be spending hundreds of pounds on this stuff when you should really be training your ears if you want to be a mix engineer. So let's go into this. So the first thing is the importance of balancing channels and why it's important. So I'm going to put all these in the description, all of these links. And so basically it's just the importance of balancing mix faders, how to balance your mix faders, gain staging, stuff like that. And then we've got this thing here, again, another how to get a good balance with the static mix. A static mix being just getting your faders right. And then we've got this thing here, which is practice makes perfect pack. And so if you go to mastering the mix, and the link is in the description, they have this thing in the free section here. You click free and you can download this pack here. And what they'll do is they've got the stems for 3 hip-hop songs, 3 pop songs, 3 house songs, 3 rock songs. And then they've got like a PDF type thing to follow. And once you follow the guide, it helps you how to hear different things, how to get the results you need. And so you're getting a first-hand practice at it with something that you can use in front of you. So you're actually getting results from reading the thing and using the demos. And so that's a really good thing. They used to do a static mix where you could go online. It was interactive and you do a static mix and then you click, I think this is the result here, and then they'll tell you how far off you was. But I can't seem to find that now, so this is going to be the next best thing for you. Then we've got this YouTube video here, which is ear training for audio engineers by Audio University. And again, it goes through some of the things I'll go through in this video, where I'm going to show you how to hear differences or how to train your ears using the EQ. And then we have this Sound Gym. Now, Sound Gym is, if you buy a yearly one, it's going to cost you £142, which equates to £11.80 a month. Or you can buy a lifetime for $500, or you can buy monthly at $24, reoccurring billing. Now, like I said, again, if you can't afford this, then there is other things that you can do, which I'll show you further on in the video. But what this does is it does simply things like that, learning how to hear EQ, learning how to hear compression, learning how to hear stereo, balancing. It is worth the money. Like I said, if you're going to spend hundreds of pounds on plugins, VST plugins, then you need to really be investing in training your ears. So they do like a daily one. There is a free version where you can do so much on the free version. You can go into the playground and play around with different things. I'm not going to go too into it, but definitely go and have a look at it, this Sound Gym. And they've got it on the phone as well, on the iPhones and the Androids. So definitely worth looking at. This has helped me a lot. So that's my site that I'm suggesting to you guys. Definitely spend that time in learning to train your ears. It will benefit you in the end. There's no point in trying to fix a mix if one, you can't hear the errors, and two, you just put in stuff on it for no reason and you can't actually hear the changes if you put on it. If you put in a plugin on to say like your bass or your drums and you set a preset and you can't hear the changes it's made, whether it's for good or the bad, then don't put it on. There's no point in it. And so that's massive advice, I think, for any new producer. And sometimes you have to swallow your pride and just take the advice that your ears are not trained yet. Took me a lot to swallow that pride and go, you know what, my ears wasn't ready, and other people was right, that I should have just left it in the static mix. And that's helped me a lot, because now when I'm mixing purposely. I'm mixing because I hear a sound that's off. The most time I'm using EQs and stuff like that is generally in the production side of things, when I want to cut loads of low end out of something because I want a certain sound. And so this stuff will come to you. There's no point in learning how to mix if you don't hear the sound changes. So train your ears first while you're learning how to mix, while you're learning what an EQ does and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a track that I'm working on for, I actually work on it for videos. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some bands in an EQ, and then what I'll do is I'll mix them up and unbypass one of them at a time and sort of try and let you know or tell you where I think the boost is. And this is basically what this Sound Gym thing does. It'll boost a certain section and then you say that was 250 or that was 1K or whatever. And once you start hearing those changes, then you can start purposely mixing. So let's get into that one. So what I've got here is a track that I've been working on, and this is just for live stream sessions and creating videos and stuff like that. And so I'll play this track for you. Up on the ship is all I know. I'm trying to be strong, but could I truly let you go? So that's that track. And so what I've done here, and this is what I suggest you guys do, is I've set up different EQs. So I'll bring up some of these EQs for you. And what I've done is I've just set different bands to set the where they will be. So I've got 6 bands around 200, 500, 1K, 2K, 4K, and around 10K. Now I would suggest is either do this with somebody, or if you have to do it like this, then do it like this. Bypass all the different bands like that. And so they're in order at the moment. If you've got somebody else to do this with, then you don't need to do this next part. You can just have them bypass whichever one, and then you guess or try and work out where that band is. If you're doing it by yourself, I would suggest maybe mixing these up. I'm fighting to move on. Up on the ship is all I know. I'm trying to be strong. So on that frequency, it's not high, it's not low. It's sort of in the middle-ish, but it's a little bit, I think it's higher than 500, so I think this is the 1K. It's going to be the 1K, between the 1 and 2K, so I think it's the 1K. It's just got like, almost like it's sounding like it's been played through a tin can. And so that's the 1K. So let's jump on to the next one. Bypass that one, next one. But could I truly let you go? I'm fighting to move on. So straight away, that one is higher than that one. It's got some of the elements of that one in it. So I think this is the 2K. This has got some of the elements of the last one in it, but it's got some of that high end as well that's being boosted. I don't think it's the 4K and I don't think it's the 10K. So I think this is the 2. The 2K, yeah. So let's jump on to the next one. Up on the ship is all I know. I'm trying to be strong, but could I? So this one again is higher. So I think this is the 4K but it's not got so much high end that it almost hurts your ears. So I don't think it's the 10. I think this is the 4. Yeah, the 4. So let's go to the next one. I truly let you go. I'm fighting to move on. And there, that's higher still, so that's the 10K, because you can hear them hats and the real high S's and stuff like that sort of kicking. So that's the 10, definitely. Could hear that. So the next one. Up on the ship is all I know. I'm trying to be strong, but could I truly let? That's the 5. So that's the 500. I can hear sort of the mid-tones to it. It's not got a lot of low in it. So I definitely think it's around the 500. It's got some lows in it, but not a lot of lows if I was boosting the 250. So I think that's the 5. Yeah, which obviously means the last one here is the 2.
You go.
And you can hear that one sounds like it's being played in a box. So that's your 250. And the thing is, what the more you do this, the more you'll get this. You won't always get them right. You're going to get them wrong. There's going to be times where they're so close together that you can't really grasp the difference. But it's a really good way of listening to the frequencies and hearing them and hearing what those sound like. And then you'll start recognizing when those are in, and you need to take them out from a mix. So that's a really, really good way of doing it. Maybe doing it with someone else, like I said, or mixing it up like that. And don't be disheartened if you can't hear them. It takes a little bit of time, but once you start hearing them, it's really, really good. And it's a really, really special thing to be able to start picking out frequencies. I can hear stuff now when I watch some of these ear training videos, and I'm so happy, like, when they say what frequency is being boosted here, and straight away it's like, that's around. Sometimes I won't get it exact on. It'll be something like, oh, that's between 1 and 3,000, and it could be in between them numbers. But most of the time I'll get that right. I'll get it right because I can hear the sounds, and those sounds have now ingrained into my mind, that when I hear certain parts of it, like it's sounding like it's being played in a box, or if it's sounding like it's being played in a tin can, I can sort of pinpoint that area. And that took about probably about a year to 2 years to start developing that. So that's what I would suggest for learning this type of thing. Really, really, really useful to actually do that. And that's one of my suggestions to start training your ears. If you can't do the ear training yourself on the ear training apps, or if you just want to hear it on your own music and what it would sound like on your own music, so you can start getting the grasp of it on your own music as well. And yeah, so that's a really, really good thing. It's similar to when you get a vocal. Say we had a vocal playing, just the vocal on its own. Here, when you take something like this and then do a really, really wide band and then pull it up and then just come across, finding those resonant frequencies, and you'll hear as I sweep across, like you'll hear ringing or real harsh ringing, almost like it's being played in a bell, or a tin can, and you'll start hearing those types of things. And I'll sweep it across, and so these are the things that you'll start learning when you start picking up these frequencies and hearing these frequencies.
Upon a ship is all I know. I'm trying to be strong.
So there you can hear it. It's almost like it's being played through a hollow can. So you're hearing a ho 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 type of sound there.
But could I truly let you go? I'm frightened to move on. Upon a ship is all I know.
There, so you're hearing sort of like a mid-tone whistle.
I'm trying to be strong. But could I truly
And there you're hearing a real horrible high ring.
let you go? I'm frightened to move on.
And around here you're hearing a whistle.
Upon a ship is all I know.
And so that's a good way of finding it. Now, the thing is if you don't understand these things, don't worry about it. Like I say in my whole section of advice is, get the static mix first, but don't worry too much about this type of stuff. If you can't hear it, then the average listener's not going to be able to hear it. So don't sweat too much about it, but learn as you go along. And if you do start hearing them, then obviously start doing that and putting them in. But when you do something like that, what I would do if I heard that ring in there,
I'm trying to be strong, but could I truly let you go? Move on.
What I would do is then I would bring that down, the gain down of that to 0. And then with this one, this F6 that I've got, I'd use dynamic on it, the dynamic cutting on it. So I would take the range down because I want it to duck, not boost. And I would set the threshold so it just ducks it. And that will just take out some of that.
I'm trying to be strong, but could I truly let you go?
Now, my advice is, if you can't hear cuts of around 3 dB, then don't overdo it. Don't be cutting like 10, 12 dB. That's going to be too much. If you're only hearing them at 10, 12, then I would suggest don't put them in at all, because you could be then ruining the mix. And so, like I said earlier in the piece, if you get a good static mix, that's 80 to 90% of your mix done. Now, if you can master that part of it first and then start training your ears, over time you'll start adding things into your mix. The amount of times that I've ruined a really good static mix because I thought I had to put something on, and I'd come in here and say, okay, I'm going to put this on the vocal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to maybe pick a vocal cleaner, but maybe that's not right for the job, you know. So if I put this up now,
our partnership is all I know.
is it accurate enough? Is that accurate enough to be doing what it needs to be doing? Now, I am an advocate of using presets for people that are new to it, because there has been many people that have really, really good people that are in the game and have spent a lot of time creating these presets, but they're not always going to fit for your thing. So you might want a certain thing for your vocal, and to try and do surgical cuts in your vocal with the ringing and stuff, somebody's not going to be able to have created that preset for you, because the voice you're working with is going to be different. So like I said, to me, is take the time to train your ears, and this is one of the things that you can do for that, is to do this. So hopefully that does help you out, guys. So guys, that's the end of that one. We hope you liked that, and I know it's a weird one today, just showing you this stuff and sort of not really giving you an answer. If you came here for a silver bullet on I'm going to be a better mixer, then I'm sorry that you didn't get that. And it is all about spend some time learning, training your ears, learning what mixing is, learning to spot mistakes or spot errors in the recordings so that you can fix them. And like I said, there is no silver bullet. You can train your ears at the same time as learning how to mix. If you're spending some time mixing or learning how to mix or learning how to use the plugins, then also take some of that time to invest in training your ears. So hopefully that advice sees you well, and you guys can start learning and taking some time to actually hear the changes. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you actually hearing changes below 6 dB cuts or 6 dB boosts? If you're only just starting to get that, let me know in the comments again. Stuff that you want to know: how can I hear compression? How can I hear this? What's my best bet for this? Ask questions in the comments, guys, and I'll try and answer what I can. But for this, in mixing and hearing changes, the first thing you should be doing is not investing in the plugins. Invest your time into training your ears. So we hope you like that one, guys. If you did, don't forget to tickle that like button for us, hit the bell and subscribe notification if you want more videos. We do these types of videos, we do watch me create type of videos, and we also do some AI stuff where it's just quick no nonsense tips, like generally around 2 minutes with an AI voice. I put the information in, type it all up and that, but then I use an AI voice because sometimes it just seems a little bit more engaging than me, especially for quick 2-minute videos. So let us know, guys, in the comments what you think, and did you get anything from this? Let me know. Sorry, it's not the silver bullet, guys. That's the reality. Take care.